Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got a great show for you today. We can smell the turkey from here, can't we? It's so close yet so far.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Robby.
Happy Thanksgiving. We're almost there.
We're almost there.
Tomorrow.
But it's Thanksgiving Eve. I'm really excited to just take a break and celebrate with my family. Eat a meal.
Me as well. I'm wearing really fuzzy socks because it's so cold in here. I just finally decided to commit to that.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a nice little thing for Thanksgiving. Around the holidays, the cozy gear is always the best.
Indeed, indeed. All right. Coming up on Rising, Trump made a jab at Democratic lawmakers during yesterday's White House turkey pardon.
And we'll have some updates on the Russia-Ukraine peace plan.
Along with War Secretary Pete Hegseth's orders to review comments made by Arizona Senator Mark Kelly.
We'll also discuss young men embracing the quarter zip lifestyle. Have you heard of that?
I have no idea what that means. So your guess is as good as mine.
But first we'll start, as always, Robby, what's on your radar?
Well, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani is putting together a team, and one of the people on that team is Alex Vitale, a professor of sociology at Brooklyn College and the author of a provocative little book called The End of Policing. That's right. The new mayor has picked to work on community safety issues, one of the leading intellectuals behind the Abolish the Police movement. Well, that's very interesting, of course, given that I was assured by many liberal friends that, well, Mamdani isn't actually serious about abolishing or defunding the police, and that when he tweeted over and over again that he wanted to do just that, he was joking, lying, paying no attention to what the mayor of New York said when he said what he said it 5 years ago. It's ancient history. Okay, surely when Mamdani said queer liberation means defund the police, he didn't mean defund the police, right? No, that's crazy talk. I think we should try something else. I think we should take what Mamdani said back then seriously. I think he really does have some very unpopular, frankly very dangerous ideas about policing, namely that his city, New York City, would be safer with fewer police, or perhaps fewer resources for the police, or maybe no police at all. And that is the ideology of Alex Vitale, who Mamdani has picked to consult him on community safety issues. In Vitale's book, he writes, quote, "The problem is not police training, police diversity, or police methods. The problem is the dramatic and unprecedented expansion and intensity of policing in the last 40 years, a fundamental shift in the role of police in society. The problem is policing itself." It's a pretty clear mission statement. The problem is not police training, diversity, or methods. Now, most people, even I think most progressives, well, they don't believe that policing is itself the problem, do they? They might have issues with the kinds of policing they see in their communities, police brutality, racial profiling, etc. But they don't think that abolishing the police is the answer. They think we need better and more competently trained police. Well, that's not how Vitale sees it, though. He literally thinks we can get by with a lot less policing. Now, in a negative review of Vitale's book for the liberal website Vox, Matt Iglesias wrote that Vitale fails to grapple with compelling evidence that more cops means less crime. Iglesias writes that, quote, "There's a substantial literature in economics and sociology arguing that more police on the beat equals less violent crime. One effort to quantify this precisely is a 2018 Review of Economics and Statistics article. It estimates, based on a big set of police and crime data from large and mid-sized cities between 1960 and 2010, that every $1 spent on extra police generates about $1.63 in social benefits, primarily by reducing murders." Iglesias continues that I found the book didn't contain an answer to the question about what a huge reduction in the number of police would mean for violent crime, end quote. Well, we know what would happen if we had fewer cops, many fewer cops on the streets, on the subway, watching convenience stores, keeping an eye on public parks, close at hand to answer distress calls when fights break out, or mentally ill people crash a fast food restaurant, or when gangs of teenagers consider a carjacking or shoplifting spree. We would have more of all those incidents of crime. Furthermore, when you have fewer police detectives, the police solve fewer crimes. And this is very important, very key. When violent crimes go unsolved, it encourages further violence. The data on that is abundantly clear. You want to solve murders so you can prevent murders in the future. So does this sound like a good plan, the right agenda for a community to you? Is this what you want for your community? Is this what New Yorkers wanted for theirs? Mamdani swore, of course, that he had no intention of defunding the police. that we should ignore all those tweets he sent. Well, maybe we should have listened to the words that were coming out of his mouth. Maybe defund the police actually means defund the police, at least to the people who are now running New York City.
I know you couldn't wait to say this.
No, I'm very frustrated to have to say this.
About what I think people who were being more thoughtful about tactic were saying when they said defund the police. So I hear you. Vitaly had some interesting ideas in his book that I think should be acknowledged. So he really was arguing for community safety and trying to really advocate for that. His book also argues that crimes like sex crimes, sex works, and drug crimes should not be criminalized. And so he was saying that people going to jail for those things as opposed to trying to receive some type of health evaluation, mental health evaluation. He believes that the government agencies and private companies should provide homes to homeless people as opposed to jailing them, like we also talked about when the National Guard came to D.C. So these are just some ideas that were in the overall book.
Right. He wants to decriminalize sex work. I'm fine with that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So drug legalization, I support that. I support those things.
I want to fully paint the picture of his ideas since you brought him up. So he also wants to recommend drug rehabilitation programs, and more than that, he wants to make sure that people are getting rehabilitated as opposed to jailed, right? I think that that's just a basic understanding of his book. What his book does not answer, and what I agree with, is how we deal with violent crimes, right? We cannot just not throw people in jail. Like there's no, because he does argue the furthest and most extreme point that, maybe police should be completely lessened to a point of, absolved. And I don't know that anybody wants that, at least from the people that I talk to with a realistic mindset around this. But I think that your outrage about Vitaly specifically is a bit overstated. I think if you understand what Mamdani is doing, he has 17 different advisory committees that he just brought on board that have a total of 400 different people. And so Vitaly is one of 27 people on a committee that's going to look at community policing. And so his 10 ideas in the book that actually are good, like decriminalizing sex work, maybe is more effective than the one idea he has that says we should get rid of all police. Because there are 26 other people on that same committee that are going to be arguing their points. And that's why Mamdani is bringing a bunch of thought leaders and people that have worked in these communities to the table. Like I told you, a total of 400 people. So in no way is Vitaly going to have more say-so than 399 others. And so I think you have to remember, as you find the story, because it was worth it to make your point about defunding the police, that he also found a myriad of other people that are going to be on a variety of committees that are going to help him come up with and solidify his plan as he walks into January, which I think is a solid thing to do, even when you include, just like MAGA does, the most extreme parts of the party and the most calm George Bush, Dick Cheney parts of the party. You still have to represent the Republican Party. So Mamdani is trying to hear all the voices, bring them all to the table, and talk about what the next steps could look like with a realistic conversation of a variety of minds. And I think that that's admirable.
Well, again, I would say the book is called, it's not called Legalize Sex Work, it's not called End the War on Drugs, it's called The End of Policing. So it's a very, and then it doesn't mince words in what he talks about. And as you acknowledge, what do we do with violent crime if that's really the goal being worked toward? I would rather not see this person on any sort of community safety board. If it was simply a task force for reclassifying drug-related infractions and it was him, then okay, fine. I have no problem with that. Again, libertarian. I don't want to police that kind of behavior at all, but the idea that, his book fails to acknowledge there are numerous sociological studies. The evidence is overwhelming that having more police on the streets, look, I'm not saying there are no downsides, right? We don't want racial profiling and we don't want, but more police on the streets does deter violent crime. And in particular, solving homicides. Getting people who commit homicides off the streets disincentivizes additional crime.
But you have to balance all of Mamdani's choices recently. He also kept in Jessica Tisch as the NYPD police commissioner, so he's going to go forward with that. So if we're looking at Mamdani, we have to look at everything. I'm glad she's going to try to stick it out. Exactly. So therefore, we have to just give Mamdani an opportunity to bring these 400 people to the table, plus keep a police commissioner in and see what happens next.
Well, next up, Trump's top man in the Russia-Ukraine peace negotiations is taking some criticism. The bombshell report on Steve Witkoff is coming up, and what it means for the peace talks. We'll be right back.